All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Shooting Shit TV. I am Adam, your host. So, I got the Smith Wesson Victory here. When I got this gun, I realized there is a magazine disconnect, and I hate magazine disconnects. Now, if you don't know what that is, I'll show you really quickly. Pistol is empty, magazine's empty. So when you put this in, rack it, okay, you can pull the trigger and it'll fire. Now, if you were to rack it, actually let's pop the magazine out, rack it, okay, and then point it in a safe direction, pull the trigger, nothing will happen. Safety's on, safety's off. There is a little mechanism, a safety mechanism in this pistol located in the handguard here that basically makes it so you need to have a magazine in the pistol for you to work the trigger. Why they implemented such a device is, I guess, to reduce accidental discharges when some people are still not getting the basic rules of safety and dropping a magazine and aiming it at themselves or another person, firing. I guess that's why they implemented it, but I don't like it. I don't like having that restriction, especially if you want to drop a magazine and fire off the last round in the chamber without having to kick it out onto the ground. Bullets are expensive. You know, you could lose it, or it can get into the hands of somebody that you don't want it to get in the hands of because you can't find it. So we're going to remove that. We're going to do a basic breakdown of this gun and show you how to break down the magazine. I'm not going to show you me cleaning it, but I'll show you after I clean it what it looks like. And I'll show you how to take this thing apart. So let's start getting the magazine disconnect off. And the way to do that is you take the provided, Smith & Wesson in the box provides you with an Allen key. So you basically have to take the Allen key and remove this nut right here. Alright, now you can just unscrew by hand. Now what I like to do is take a trusty little cup and put the screws inside there so I don't lose them. So you flip this thing over and just pop it right off like that, okay? Very easy. This is the lower receiver. This is the upper receiver and barrel. So very, very easy. Let's put that off to the side and flip this over. Next, you're gonna need another Allen key. I don't know the size. I know this one is 1/8. Not sure the size on this one, but we're gonna remove the hand guards here, which are pretty easy to do. Just need another Allen key. Let's put this out of the way. That one's a little stiff. There we go. You hear the pop and you should be able to just unscrew them right off. Now, you don't have to remove both of these panels, these grip panels here. Just one of them. And you could keep the screws in there as long as they don't fall out. So be careful. Right here is the magazine release spring. Now if we were to flip that over, that could probably pop out pretty easily. Yeah, I can. So we're not gonna play with that. This has a spring on it because it moves with the magazine once it's installed. Let's see if it can push out from below here. I don't know. Let's use the Allen key. Oh yeah, so you can push it out from below. So there you go. So it's out. Now you got to work on finagling it out the top. As you can see here, if you can see really closely, it's right there. That's the part interacts with the magazine that allows you to fire or actuate the trigger. Now without that, this thing is blocking the trigger so you cannot fire without the magazine. So you should be able to just turn this guy, wiggle it out somehow or another without marring up anything. What a pain in the ass this thing is. just like the invention itself. Fucking pain in the ass. How about I put a little space in between? That's probably what you're gonna have to do. A little gap in between those two parts there. Yeah, so that's, yeah, okay, so that's what you do. Just put a little bit of, not too much because you don't want to bend that piece. And you should be able to wiggle it out after that. There we go. Okay. All right. Didn't gum it up at all. Good. So here, the magazine release spring came out, of course. And there we go. Okay. So this is the piece right here. This is the magazine disconnect. Keep it, throw it away, whatever you want to do. To be honest with you, there's no point. So this is going to, again, give you the ability to work this thing without a magazine. And when I have this all back together after I clean it, we'll test it out and I'll show you exactly how that works. All right, so the next step of what you want to do is right in here, right here, there's the guide rod and spring. You're going to want to take that out. So what I like to do is use a little punch. There's a groove here in which it sits. You can pop that in there like that. So you see how I did that? Pop it in. You can remove the spring and the guide rod just by adjusting it out of that channel right there. So once that's out, you can pull the bolt assembly, just clean out. You don't need to take this down any further, but you can remove the firing pin if you want to, and the disconnect, or sorry, and the extractor. So you could clean it further if you want, but for this basic field strip, you don't have to do that. And then the last thing you could do with this is use the provided Allen key right here, and you take off the barrel. I guess you can keep the barrel on for cleaning, but it is part of the field strip procedure to take the barrel off. So, and it's honestly, well, surprisingly enough, this one was not on that much. So I don't know what the torque spec is to that, but this was definitely not on that tight. So you could just remove that, and it's just basically a set screw. So, and here it is. Here's the barrel. Very easy to remove, kind of like a Ruger 1022 in a way. Not the best way to fasten a barrel on, but I get where they're going with that. Not a big deal. It's not going to go anywhere. So very cool, because you have two spots where it's connected to the frame here with the screw, and then this is just a set screw so it doesn't move around. So there's that. And once you have all these parts removed, you basically have these main parts here that you can just clean. You could scrub this little, I would call this a little piece of buffer plastic. This is something you see on a Keltec PMR 30. This is the second pistol I own that actually has something like that. All right, so the last thing I want to show you guys is how to break down this magazine. Normal magazines have a little push pin here you push down, which relieves this pressure off this base plate. And once you do that, you could just pop it right off. This one doesn't have that, and it has a follower assist. So it's a pretty standard magazine. But how do you take it apart? So I'll tell you, very easy. So there's a little hole here. I'm using something a little smaller than this hole, but anything really works. So what you do is you take a punch or anything, stick it in between the spring here. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And you pull down on it, and you can hold it like this with your fingers. So you're relieving the pressure that's pushed on this base plate. And what you want to do is just slide it off like so. And once it's off, put it off to the side. Now you have pressure that's still built up because you have this in here. So what you want to do is keep the magazine pointed down, put your finger on it like that, pull this out, and lift it up. and the spring comes out, and you should be able to now, yeah, okay, so it just fell out. The little pin just came out. So if it doesn't just fall out like that, you could push it out. So let's put these little pieces there. So there's the magazine, and putting it back together is basically the same, but in reverse. Not a big deal. I'm gonna go ahead and clean everything, do a nice cleaning, and then put it back together. I'll show you how to put it back together, and then I'll show you how the magazine disconnect now works, or doesn't work because it's not in the gun. So let's do that right now. Let's get it cleaned. I'm not going to show that again in the video because that's boring, and then we'll go from there. All right, she's all clean. So let's put it back together. Well, I'm going to take a little bit of hops, and I'm just going to oil some spots in here. Just throw some oil in here. I'm sure there's a recommended area where you're supposed to oil. I'm not going to follow that. I'm just going to apply it liberally here, and the internet keyboard warriors can have a problem with it all they want. I'm going to throw a little oil in this hole around this area here, and I'm going to oil up the components, and whatever excess will just wipe away. All right, and you know what? I'm going to throw some in here too. Why not? Just a little bit on each side. Make sure, a little bit there. The ejector. All right, so she's all oiled up sufficiently enough. I don't know if I put some here. We'll put some there. All right, let's put it back together. We're going to put the barrel back on first. So you're going to slide the barrel in like so. Okay, and you're going to take your set screw. Put her in, just start the thread with your fingers, like so. Now, this one wasn't really tight when I took it off, but I'm going to tighten it a little bit more than it was. That probably doesn't need to be super tight, so just enough, like so. So you don't want to crush the set pin or damage the barrel, so just enough. Okay, so once the barrel is in place, you're going to want to take your recoil guide rod, and you want to do this without putting it into the receiver first. This is a little tricky. So you see the top of the bolt here? This is where the spring ends, right in this little area here. And this is the hole where the recoil guide rod spring comes out of. You want to make sure your spring is positioned exactly over that hole. And in order to do that, you're going to want to put your fingers on it like that, or anything to keep it so it's flush. So you can use it on the table here, and you can push it at that point. You might need to wiggle it a little bit to get it in, because if you see here, it protrudes through the hole. So you got to make sure that it protrudes through the hole in order for you to get that into the channel. So once it's in the channel like that, you can let go with the punch, and now it's in. And this is what it looks like from the top. This is what it looks like from the bottom. So once that's like that, you could take the bolt and slide it in like so. You can see there's a little bit of a give there. Push it so it's flat. That's just the spring working against there. So anyway, so once that's like that, you can now put it back on the gun like so, and then you can turn it over. You grab your frame screw, and you can actually, the best thing to do is probably just thread it on by hand again, just so it starts to catch and you can feel it, so you don't cross thread or anything like that. So once it's on, you can lay it down like this, and you could start to screw it on. This one you probably want to have on decently snug. There we go. Okay, good enough. So there we are. It's assembled. You just want to do a function test. Not bad. Okay, all the controls work. Slide catch works. Okay. So now that everything's together, let's give it a nice wipe. Any excess oil, any fingerprints, whatever. Now everything's together. I put together the magazine. Sorry I didn't film that, but pretty easy. Do it in reverse. Okay, so let's put this in so I can show you without the magazine disconnect. So once this is in, pull it back. Slide catch works, interacting with the magazine. Okay, so again, let's safety check. It is clear. Let's drop that. So safety down, put it in the safe direction, fire. It fires. Okay, now let's drop the magazine and we're going to cycle it. Okay, now it should go off without the magazine. There we go. So very simple modification. Something you could do if you want to, if a magazine disconnect does bother you. They definitely bother me, so that's why I removed it. Very easy, not much modification involved. Just have to take off the grip panels here and remove it, wiggle it out, comes right out. Anyway guys, I appreciate you watching another episode of Chute and Shit TV. I am Adam, your host. Please like, subscribe, and comment. If you have any questions about what we did in this video today, put it down below and I'll try to answer them the best of my ability. So again, thank you so much for watching. Signing off.